Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Ask the Knights Live. I am your host, Logan Path Warden, and I'm back. Yeah, sorry for everybody who was looking for me last week. I had a little bit of a family issue I had to take care of back home in Virginia, but thankfully, our lovely and talented Cal came in and took over the reins and hosted a great show. So first off, I just wanted to thank him for the fantastic job that he did and our guest for being on the show. Now, with that done and over with, let's go ahead and get into the show. We have a wonderful pair of knights for you this evening, and I'm really excited to talk to them. So let's jump in. Gentlemen, come on in here. Good evening, gents. Before we say anything else, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourselves and say hello and say hi to everyone who's out there watching right now. The millions of fans and viewers are watching.
Well, I am Sir Finnvarđr Iazzie from the beautiful kingdom of Glenabin.
Awesome. Excellent. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Sir Jastra Desislavic. Everybody calls me Iazzie. If I introduce myself as Sir Jastra, things will have gone wrong. I'm from Meridies, and my persona is 13th century Russ.
Awesome. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. And so a lot of people ask me, like, why do you always get the guests to introduce themselves? Number one, because it's cool and you get to tell, a little bit about yourself. And number two, I don't have to try to say the most difficult names on the face of the planet. Like, I love a well-researched and period name. I just don't like to tie my tongue around them. They're just so hard. So, gentlemen, thank you for doing that and taking that weight off my shoulders. And welcome to the show. What do you guys think? You ready for internet fame and fortune and all that kind of good stuff?
Ready or not, here we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's jump into it. Our first question of the evening is the one that I always like to ask is, so tell us about your first SCA event. What made you decide to get started in the SCA?
I was going to Middle Tennessee State University and literally middle of the state of Tennessee, and was driving by a park one time, and there were these crazy guys in the park hitting each other. And I went, hey, that looks awesome. And I asked what they were doing, and they introduced themselves and said they were, part of this group called SCA. And I'm like, cool, can I hit you? And they put me in armor, and Lord Alanon, now known as Jarl Alanon McShee, put me in armor, taught me some moves, hit me a few times, and I was hooked. It was great.
Awesome. That's a very, very familiar story. I hear that a lot.
Oh, my turn. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I was going through Lafreniere Park in Kenner, Louisiana, about age 14 with two of my buddies. And the Louisiana Renaissance Festival was going on there. That was way back when it was really small. So we were, tootling around the event and everything and gawking at everything. And, much like Iazzie, we came across a group of people beating the tar out of each other with sticks. And I knew that was for me.
You'd be surprised. Actually, you wouldn't be surprised at how many times that's the basic genesis of most SE folks' knights stories is I was driving past a park and I saw these guys in armor beating the crap out of each other, and I thought to myself, that looks like fun.
Exactly.
Well, that's such a huge advantage of coming into the SCA that way, because you immediately have a group of crazy people just like you, and you're like, oh, dude, yeah, those are my people.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, so you told us how you got into the SCA. Now the question is, what keeps you coming back? How long you guys been in for how long, and what keeps you coming back to the SCA?
Well, after that time at Lafreniere Park, it took me 4 years to reconnect with the SCA. So that was, say it was 1988 before I actually was able to participate in the SCA. It was magical. It can still be magical. The way that it can transport you back in time and create just a magical place, where, like Iazzie said, all our weird people are right there with us. They are all into it themselves, so we're all into it together. And I guess what keeps me coming back is that I haven't found any other hobby that creates those feelings in me, where I can get out those inner feelings of medievalosity or historicity or whatever you want to call it, where I want to be back in that time. I want to be doing that stuff. I want to dress in the clothes. I want to wear armor. I want to beat up my friends with sticks. I want to do all those cool things. I want to sit around the fire and drink and play music and sing and tell stories and jokes and all of that. And I haven't found anything else that quite fits that peg hole.
Yeah, I understand completely.
For me, I got into it for the sport because I played football for years and years, and finally that went away, and you can't do that anymore. But it became a sport, but then it became the people. At first, it was because I had my night and my household, and then I made friends that outside of that, the people were really great. And once it became a night, I had no idea how grounded my squires would keep me. I don't think I could walk away right now if I wanted to, because they're family, and you know what I mean. Gil's my brother from another mother. Excuse me, Finnvarđr, and that's my guy. Any chance I get to see him, and the people, it's just so amazing. It's the people in the SCA are weird, but it's a special kind of weird that you can enjoy and be around. The normal is boring, but man, it's. How do you not love hanging out with somebody when you go beat the shit out of people for a while and then you go have beer with them? How do you leave that? That's just awesome.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, and I'll tell you, I like to ask that question almost every show, and it basically does boil down to the same answer. It's the people. The people make the SCA, and that's it's the same over and over and over. I love to hear everybody's answer though, because it's just a little bit different. That what it boils down to is it's the people. And so speaking of people like our viewers, our fantastic and wonderful viewers, I forgot to say at the top of the show, this show doesn't do anything or can't be anything without you guys. So make sure that you're getting your questions into the chat. Ask the questions. Make sure that you include your SCA name and title so that we can get those right. I'll stumble over them the best I can. You can yell at me in the comments if I do it wrong. I don't do it on purpose. I'm just dumb. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, those questions in there, because about halfway through the show, we will jump in and we will ask your questions. And we'll try to get to all of them if we have time. All right, but back to my questions, because I'm the host. I get to ask all the questions at the
beginning. Your show.
All right, so this show I started because it's basically for the unbelts, so they can get to know more knights a little bit more on a personal level without that whole like sneaking up to them or or having to approach them, and basically so they can see if they are brave enough to come up to you guys after they get to know you as a person, other than the bright and shining beacons that you are. I'm talking about your belts. So I like to ask questions for them, and one of the questions that I usually get from them the most is, what do you think was your biggest hurdle as an unbelt in becoming a knight? What was the biggest thing that you had to get over?
Mine was is that for me, tournaments didn't come naturally. Those were not something I enjoyed. I'm a melee guy, and in Meridiers, while we enjoy a good melee, that's kind of our job. The joy, a lot of people, their joy is tournament, and I fell in love with one weapon style, and I had to expand to become good with other things, and learning and broadening, being good at everything in the SCA, because a knight should be competent, dangerous with any weapon. That's what my friend Ulrich says. And it took me a long time to understand that, I got good with a glaive. That's what I got good with. And then I had to move beyond that to get good with other things. And another hurdle was I lived in Knoxville at the time, and it's 3 hours to my event, our group's event. Going to anything for the rest of the kingdom was 5-6 hours. And having responsibilities in the barony meant I fought and then left, and I didn't get to know people, and I wasn't making those connections. And being a part of the community is part of being a knight. It's not just fighting. If you're not a part of the community, you're not being what a knight needs to be. And my mundane situation was really kind of keeping me from being a part of the community as a whole. So those were my biggest hurdles. That, and I'm kind of a jackass.
Secrets out. Dope. Oh, my biggest hurdle before I was knighted.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the question? Okay.
That's it.
Oh boy.
Biggest hurdle as an unbelt.
For mine, I work in healthcare, so my schedule has always had conflicts with eventing. Not to mention, I have 4 kids, and my family comes first.
Mm-hmm.
During part of the time that I was really putting in the effort to try to get knighted, my father-in-law came to live with us in hospice care, and it was a very trying time for our family. But throughout that, it was a matter of balancing family time with the SCA, and quite honestly, I failed my family many times during that time because I put the SCA first. And to any squire or anyone wanting to learn anything from me, I would definitely tell them, don't do that. Put your family first in all things. Absolutely all things. So you are going to face hurdles on your path, but remember that each step you take, you will be responsible for. Because if you look at it in terms of weird, which is weird or erd, however you say it, either in the Anglo-Saxon or the Scandinavian ideologies, with each step you take, you build your fate, you build your future. So you may reach your goal, but think about the cost and what you want to sacrifice for it, what you're willing to sacrifice for it. I still have my family, by the way. I didn't sacrifice them. on an altar or anything. They're still there.
No,
They're
no.
still here.
No, that's excellent. I know how you feel. I spent 20 years in the military, and um, you know, it severely impacted the time that I had with my family and the time that I could spend in the SCA. And as much of a passion that I had for the SCA, um, I knew, like, number one, my family came first. Number two, my job came after. So, I was always being pulled away from both. Um, so I understand, that, like, it can be really difficult. And, I've been on the path for a very, very long time, but I am content in knowing that I'm not trying to get knighted. Like, that is, it's something that I would love to happen, but as long as I am being knightly, um, I'm happy. And I found that, like, I'm much happier as far as my traveling on the path, and I'm having a lot more fun now that I have stopped worried about being knighted and just gone on to try to be knightly. You know what I mean? I want people to mistake me for a knight for, prowess and dress and all the virtues, because that's the way I want to live. And, I want someone to come up and say, "Where's your white belt?" Don't got one, because you don't need it. The recognition is the good thing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? From your peers. That's all you need. And I found that has made me a lot happier as an unbelt. All right, but nobody's here to hear about my stuff. They want to hear about your stuff. So,
Can I say something on that before we move on?
oh, absolutely, please.
So, a wise man once said to me, if you are happy, contented, and well adjusted as a squire, you'll be happy, contented, well adjusted as a knight. If you're miserable, unhappy, and mean as a squire, you will be miserable, unhappy, and mean as a knight. A knight doesn't suddenly make you a better person. And the story I always tell people is becoming a peer doesn't suddenly make everything perfect. The day after I got knighted, I came home and mowed my lawn. So, I mean, that's just the recognition is great, but the path and the people, it comes back to the people. The people you meet on the path is far more important than the goal of becoming a knight. Because, like I said, if you're miserable as a squire, you should be miserable as a knight.
Absolutely. Sir Finn, did you want to say anything else on that? Any other thoughts? Not to put you on the spot or anything. I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
I feel like you put me on the spot. You told me that. I knew that's what this show was about. Man, I don't know. It's like, for me, the path to knighthood took 30 years. So it's hard to say. What was your biggest hurdle? Well, I talked about the primary issues I had. I mean, I traveled around a lot, things like that. I mean, so much of it is focus, staying focused on it. And it's not just it that you're staying focused on, because you're not staying focused on the path of knighthood. You need to be focusing on being knightly, living the virtues, because if you want to live them, you can't do it just at an event, 1 week in a month or whatever. You have to incorporate that into your life. It has to be a part of you. And I really think that most people in the SCA, they're already doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You're already incorporating that into your life. And that's one of the things that attracts us to the SCA, are those chivalric values.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Okay, so let's get to a more sticks and stones question here. So what is your favorite weapons form and why? Forearm. Forearm.
Well, I fight center grip around and sword. That's my favorite. But I also like spear. I also like Danax. I also like uh, axe and sword, spear and sword. I like weapons. I'm like really into fighting. I like it all. I love it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
My favorite type of weapon fighting is the glaive. I love fighting the glaive. When I fight with the glaive, I see better. I get a feel for the flow of the fight. It's really just dancing. Where, give me just a second.
The comments, it's funny.
My dog has decided that was the exact moment to go eat their food.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
it's about the glaive, especially in a melee. I can see what's going on. I get a feel for the rhythm of what's going around me. The sword and shield is fun. I enjoy it, but it's just not the same. The comment has been made that I move amazingly well for a man my size, but I feel like a lot. Screw you, Gil. There really is a story behind that.
Oh, please tell the story. We're here.
This isn't fair because this was going to be my no shit there I was story. Now he's going to tell it.
Oh, go ahead. Tell the story.
No. Go ahead. He tells it better than I do anyway.
We were at an event, and it's called July, not July Feast anymore. It's June Feast that year, and it's a 3-on-3 fighting tournament. And it turns out I understand the flow of melee. That's my love, and so I anticipate what's going on. I happened to be there, and I was jumping into things. And later that night, we were at the after party, and this guy, and he was blotto. I mean, just he was toe up from the flow up. But he goes, man, I can't believe you move that well for a man your size. You move amazingly well for a man your size. And he says that like 10 times. And Finnvarđr looks over him and goes, dude, he's calling you fat.
Did I say that? Really?
Yes, you did.
That's really mean. That doesn't sound like anything I would say.
Yeah, it does.
No.
It was about 30 minutes before I told Thomas Alford you've been carrying him all day.
Now that's a funny story too.
But yeah, so my favorite weapon form, hands down, is glaive. I get it. I understand it. I get the flow with it. It's just I get the rhythm.
I have to agree with you there. It's my absolutely favorite weapons form. It's one I fight with most often, and oh boy, I miss fighting.
Yes, definitely.
All right, gents. So we've got just a couple more minutes before we start getting to our audience questions. But I have a question for you, and it's one I'm really excited about. So it looks like we can kind of see the light at the end of this crazy pandemic tunnel. It's not a freight train. It may be one of those like those wheelie carts, but you can just jump out of the way of that. So I mean, it's still a ways off and everything, but one of the things that I'm looking forward to most is, and I'll tell you this, I did not realize how much I missed the SCA when, we were having events every weekend, and, you're like, oh, picking and choosing, and like, oh, there's something I could get to. It's only an hour away, but I don't feel like packing up and everything. And now I'm just like, what was I thinking? I was an idiot. I should have gone to every single one of those events. So my question for you is, after that long-winded introduction, what event are you looking forward to most going? And I'll put a little caveat on this: in Kingdom and out of Kingdom. An out of Kingdom event may be something that you've never been to ever before.
In Kingdom, it's got to be Castle Wars because that's our big Melee event. I don't know if you've picked up on this, but I'm a Melee guy. But Castle Wars, man, it's by far our biggest Melee event. It's probably our largest event of the year, as far as Melees. And then Meridian Grand Tournament. It's an experience. 6 different tournaments in one day. It's a lot of fun. It's the pageantry, and there's a whole lot of the showing off your good stuff. But yeah, it's in Kingdom. It's definitely going to have to be Castle Wars for a Melee event and MGT for a tournament event. Out of Kingdom, it's got to be Lily. Lily is maybe my favorite event in the SCA. I love Lily's War. That's my jam. I love my Calantiri friends. Calantiri, love my Calantiri friends. We go out on the point. We fight or not. The Meridian battle cry at Lily's is "I'm on vacation." All the Midwesterners are dying because it's 80 degrees with 20% humidity, and we're all like, "This is the best thing ever." But no, I love Lily's War. I'm really looking forward to Lily's and Castle Wars because I get to see a lot of my friends in one place.
Awesome.
Well, for me, it's both of the events that I want to go to are war events. It's Gulf Wars. Turns out it's right here in my kingdom. I'm an hour from site. Iazzie. And the other one is Lily's War because I have never been, and I want to ride on the Finnvarđr. Because I've seen lots of pictures of that, and I have not been able to do it.
It will not disappoint.
For me and my North Scandinavian habit, that is like, oh, give it to me. Give it to me.
Well, gentlemen, I will say this before we move on to our audience questions. You may or may not know that I started a little Facebook group, and it's called The West and Friends Go to Double Wars. Double Wars is the big war in Sweden, over there in Drakenwald. And we're planning for 2022. So that and all of you folks out there watching know, it's called The West and Friends Go to Double Wars. It's on Facebook. We'll drop a link to it in the comments here before the end of the show or at the end of the show. So if you are interested, hey, there it is right there. If you are interested in maybe setting up a trip to go to Sweden, into Drakenwald, and go to Double Wars, this is the place to go. We've got I lived in Drakenwald for 7 years, so all of my buddies over there are very excited to have a large group of folks come across the pond because they come over just about every year. 5 to 10 of them to different events. They come over all the time, and we host them, and we try to make it easy for them. Store stuff, at our houses here for like Great Western and Australia and stuff like that. And they're very eager to return the favor, not just for us, but for anyone who wants to visit from the States or Loak, anywhere they want to help. They want to get people there and have a lot of fun. So if you go to the site, if you go to the Facebook group, you can see some cool pictures of the camps and some of the fighting and everything, and I guarantee you that it will be a good time. So check it out, join the group, and whether you get there in 2022 or not, it's up to you, but we got lots of folks who want to help. All right, so I think I have run my mouth enough, and it is time to get to the audience questions. We have some really good ones, and we have some really funny ones, but before we do any of them, I'm going to go in order of precedence. because His Majesty of Merides, King Timothy, he's got a question, individual questions for both of you. So a question for Finnvarđr. You are both an artisan and a fighter. Do you ever feel that your passion with one pulls you away from the other? And then I've got a little bit of a follow-up that we were kind of chit-chatting about before the show. So please answer His Majesty's question, and then I'll hit you with another one, and then we'll move over to Izzie's question.
Absolutely. Your Majesty, thank you so much for your question, and thank you for coming on the show. You honor us greatly. So absolutely, I do feel like I'm pulled in 1,000 different directions at an event. I want to do all the classes. I want to learn how to make all the things, and I want to fight in all the battles. I want to fight the tournaments. I want to do everything. So it definitely has been a divisive thing in my own brain at throughout my time in the SCA. I'm honestly looking forward to doing other things besides fighting, like live weapons and attending classes, teaching classes, things like that. So, yes, I hope that answers it.
Oh, I think it was a good answer. And I'm sure His Majesty will punish you if it didn't. Please.
He's got to catch me first.
Sounds like a challenge. Okay, the gauntlet has been thrown. So just to tack on to His Majesty's question, we were talking a little bit before the show. Do you think that for an unbelt or a squire, do you think it's important to be, the well-rounded knight, to not just to have prowess, but, to have some kind of art form, know how to dance, courtly graces, that type of thing?
Absolutely. When I started in the SCA, the first thing I saw at that event was knights. The first thing most people see, most newcomers when they come to the SCA, are the knights. They see the fighters. We are the most visible, most noisy, audacious thing they're going to see. Sure, they see lots of people go up crazy, but they don't see people anywhere else beating each other with sticks, wearing armor. That's going to stand out to them. So we're always going to be the first people that are noticed as part of the SCA. And if you want to be a knight, you need to be able to respond to that. When people come up to you, new people that are interested in the SCA, you need to be a good ambassador for the SCA. You need to comport yourself well. You need to be knowledgeable about history, about art, about music, dance, food, clothing, all of it. You need to know your period, the history behind it. Your clothing should match your period. You should be able to explain it, why you're wearing it, why it was worn. The purpose that a lot of it had, some articles of clothing had certain purposes where, others are purely fashion. Not to mention, let's think about it. If you're going to be spending all that time in the SCA, what's the other reason a lot of young people get into the SCA? They're looking for other young people.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for people to hook up with. One of the reasons I stayed in the SCA was girls. I met a lot of girls in the SCA. So, that's that old saying, if you can't get laid in the SCA, you can't get laid at all. And it's the truth. So if you're a young aspiring squire, then you need to be learning as much as you can, and not just to impress the new people, which is very important. Do that. That should be your reason. Where do I point this to? Yeah, you.
That's good.
You. Looking at me right now. You. It's to impress newcomers. Yes, not to get laid or pick up chicks, but that does help. Okay. It helps with that too. So, behave yourself. I haven't done that in a very long time. I'm a thoroughly and very happily married man. So,
Excellent.
but it helped me get there.
Absolutely. Okay, so this next question is also from His Majesty of Merides, King Timothy. And the question is for Iazzie. Your skills with a glaive are renowned in Merides, but you certainly took the time to build your prowess with a sword and shield. What decision? No, I think he was saying.
Oh no, that's legit. That's a fair call. Fair call.
Well, I think he's saying even though you're really good with the glaive, you still took the time to build your prowess with sword and shield. I think it's a compliment. Maybe not. Is it a dig?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's a dig.
His Majesty doesn't have a mean bone in his body. At least, not intentionally.
Absolutely. Okay, it's not a dig. It's not a dig. All right. So, what motivated the decision to refine and? So, what motivated the decision to refine and improve both weapon styles? Were the Pressels internal, external, or both?
It was definitely both. One thing that people don't realize is as soon as they slap this white belt on you, you get everybody's A game all the time. And this is just my opinion, but if you knight someone that doesn't have the prowess level, they will beat them out of the SCA. And there were people that went hunting me, and there were people that I thought were out to genuinely damage me, not to prove they were better than me, damage me. And and that's in Meridies. And when I went to other kingdoms, it was even worse. Because, we're known as being the lightest hitters. You go other places, somebody's like, oh, I'm going to show them Meridian Knight. But part of it also was motivation that I had been announced, and I was walking over, and I won't mention who this is. He knows who he is. He cringes every time I tell the story. But I had somebody just stop me, look me in the face, and straight up say to me, I don't think your sword and shield work is knightly. And I went, all right, challenge accepted. And part of it was I got better because I had to, and part of it was just to prove him wrong. And part of it was, damn it, I'm a knight. I need to be good at stuff. Right. The one thing that was explained to me was when you're a squire, you can have off days. Mm-hmm. When you're a knight, you don't get to have off days. Because if you have an off day, everybody's like, what's wrong with you? And so it got to where I needed to be competent with everything. And the weakest part of my game absolutely was my sword and shield. And part of it was because I was big and left-handed. And I beat a lot of people because I was big and left-handed. And I built really bad habits because the people that could beat me all the time. And at some point I had to go back and learn how to fight. But it was a matter of pride because somebody had questioned whether my sword and shield work was knightly. Part of it was because I felt I should. And part of it because there were people out there that were just beating the absolute dog mess out of me.
So with that, I will tack on my little bit to His Majesty's question too. How important is it for a knight to give or offer that positive pressure, not just to unbelts and squires, but to other peers? Do you think that is an important thing for you to do for each other?
I believe that that's absolutely something we should be doing on and off the field. There's been some questions about how the knights police their own when things go wrong. And I'm not going to go and have that conversation because God knows you could have 5 or 6 whole shows just about that. But it's one of those where we should lift our brothers and sisters up when we see them something, hey, man, that really wasn't cool. Or, hey, you've been fighting here in this one place. Here's a hole in your game. Can we help you improve that off in the field? And, hopefully if I ever get stepped out of line and I'm doing things that are wrong, hope somebody will come and tell me because That's how we get better. If nobody tells me I'm screwing up, I can't get better. But that's yeah, the pressure of helping, and it's not just knights. You know, it's
Mhm.
laurels, it's pelicans, it's masters of defense. You know, we are and should be held to a higher standard because theoretically we're excellent in our field. And we're not acting that way on or off of our field, then we're letting our whole peerage down. And rightly or wrongly, every single knight is judged by the least of us.
Mhm.
And so when something is inappropriate or not done the way that it is, you know, now I'm not saying we get up in court and yell at them. No, you know, have a little conversation off to the side. Hey, you know, that wasn't cool, man. But that's the way I feel about that.
Excellent. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for those answers. We've got so many good questions in here, so I'm just going to keep plugging away here. Um, let's see, what do we got here? This one. So this one kind of kept me from asking one of the ones that I normally ask, because I don't normally ask about appearance. Like, how important is it for you to look like the persona that you want, or to look good? But from the audience, we had a fantastic question, and it is from His Excellency. Excuse me, I can't talk today. Ranoff Tenants. I know I got that wrong. But his question is: as knights looking at up and coming fighters, is a historically inspired kit important to you? If you're looking at someone who is, say, an unbelt, is not squire to anybody yet, and you're looking at maybe, um, talking to them about being a squire, or if you've got someone who's been mentioned in council, is the look of their kit important? Is it a factor at all?
I don't feel as strongly as this about as Finnvarđr will, so I'll give you the short answer. Um, I think you should do your best. You know, to quote a friend of mine, don't look like ass. If you don't necessarily need to go shopping for matching sweatpants and tennis shoes to match your belt. But I'm not saying you need to have a period perfect 15th century kit, but an attempt needs to be made. I mean,
Mhm.
you do your best. My quote has always been, remember, this is supposed to be fun.
Mhm.
So as long as you've made an attempt to try, I mean, if you want to do generic Norman, generic, proto Viking, as long as it's, you're not wearing, a sallet with, I don't know, insert random early period armor, the Gothic leaf armor, the elf armor, and again now, and ultimately for me, that's not going to go past, is this person a good person? Do they have the right mindset, the right skill set? Because ultimately, we can get them in a better kit. That's certainly not a deal breaker for me.
Mhm.
So that's now. I'm only thing I'm good at. I'm not an art person. What I'm good at making is purchases. So I'm not just feel as strongly about that. But as long as you're supporting arts, that's what I'm looking for. That's all I can do is I can support artists. But like I said, an attempt. That's all I'm looking for. And again, I'm looking at the person more than I am the kit.
Absolutely. All right, Sir Finnvarđr.
Yeah, I'm totally wrong. I know.
No, you're not wrong. No. I mean, the last point you made, I totally agree with. Yeah, we're looking at the person, not their kit. And that ultimately is exactly what we're looking at. Now, as far as should they be trying, should they be making an effort? Absolutely. Dress for the job you want. So if you want to be a knight, look like a knight would look. Do your best to achieve that look. If you're wearing a samurai helmet with a lorica segmentata and pajama pants, right, with hockey gloves, and I don't know, a buckler, and just whatever weirdness. I mean, come on. I don't feel like you're trying. You can find help with that. If somebody finds themselves in that situation, I am more than happy to help them with it. It's really, I have taught classes on how to put together a period kit on a budget. You can do it really cheaply, and it looks so good. And I think to anybody looking at this person as a candidate for knighthood, they're going to see their efforts and definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. A long time ago, I did a presentation on when I first came into the SA, it was called dog robbing. I don't know if you guys ever heard that, but it was basically like getting stuff from how to find stuff at thrift stores to make like everything better. Your feast gear, go look for like wooden bowls, or go look in the plates for those old like just you can find a lot of medieval looking stuff that will elevate the look of your kit. And then I also did a presentation on just covering your kit. You can do a lot to make your kit look great with a plain surcoat. If you're doing 14th century and you've got plastic armor and you cover it with a surcoat, and it doesn't have to be painted, it doesn't have to be embroidered or anything, but just a plain colored surcoat to cover the ugly, you can do wonders.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, I covered carpet armor for a long time with a surcoat. And after that, it was like the heaviest. It seemed like cast iron coat of plates that I had for about a year, and I moved on from there. It's just been this progressive change of improvements in armor, and it's like it. I don't know if it's still happening or not, but it used to be if you wanted armor, because there was no place selling armor. There weren't places like Trade Winds of Levant.
Oh God!
Put you. Oh my God! I have to do a shout out for Dale Hopton here.
Oh yes,
he is a godsend to the SCA and making it affordable for people to get in historically accurate kits.
Yeah.
Man, I paid, I think, $150 for the first helmet I actually bought and paid for in 1989. And it was an Italian army helmet, top with, other stuff on there. And no, it was cutting edge. That thing was, it was high tech SCA back then.
The very first helmet I
made that, it was fantastic. Love that helmet. But before that, I went through several loaner helmets in Shire the Eagle in Auburn, Alabama. We had this giant aluminum missile nose cone helmet. It was I kid you not, it was a pig nose bassinet, right? And it actually was as wide as my shoulders. It was so big. It was padded with like 6 inches of foam rubber on either side. It stuck way out. There was no way you could protect your head from a shot. You went out to fight with it, you were getting hit in the head. Anybody that hit you anyplace else was just being a dick. I mean, seriously.
Oh God. Yeah, the first helmet I ever fought in was a Freon can helm. This was like right at the end.
Yeah.
Like right before that they got banned. But the very first helmet that I fought in, a loaner helm, and of course I had a blast, and I was like, I can't wait to get better. So so I'll ask you guys too. You've gone, I'm guessing you've gone through several permutations of your kit. Do you find that you give away the items that you aren't using anymore? Like, you've replaced something Do you give them away or like sell them at a discount, or you find someone who has a ratty breastplate, and so you give them your old one? Is that generally what you do?
Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, if somebody's in need and I know they have that need, I'll either sell it to them for next to nothing, or I'll give it to them. Or I'll say, hey, you need something? What do you need? You're trying to get your kit together? Come on over. Let's make it. Come on over to the
Hmm.
shop. We'll make it. Because that's the way it was when I started in the SCA. It's
Right.
like, okay, well, what's your budget? What do you got? And we'll work with that. It turns out I have a lot of materials. I make stuff. So anybody knows me knows I make stuff. So it's like, let me know what you need, and probably have the materials. We can get you in it, and you'll learn something in the process. So you're gonna make it, not me. I'm gonna teach you how to do it, and you'll make
Hmm.
it. So
So this summer, I
Happy
need
with
to come down and bring some beer and us make a shield.
that's cool. I'm surprised that shield lasted as long as it did.
it.
Because I fight Glaive all the time.
Well, yeah, there's that. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got one here from Lord Cal from Merides. How do you guys choose your squires? Do you prefer to be approached, or would you rather approach them?
I've had both happen. Of my 5 squires I currently had, um, 2 of them I approached because they were in an area that didn't have any knights at the time. And they were great guys, and they needed some help. And at the time, there just wasn't anybody in their group that was a knight. And I went and talked to them, and it was great. Another one pestered me for years, and I do mean pestered me for years. She came up to me before I was knighted and said, "I want to be your squire when you get knighted." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! Let's hold up. You're assuming I'm ever going to get knighted." And then when I got knighted, she's like, "All right, you're a knight now. I want to be your squire." And I'm like, let's let the stuff dry on my belt first. And but she badgered me, pestered me, and had basically made a nuisance of herself in a good way most of the time. Until I was like, you know what, I'm totally there. And I will tell you right now, she has more heart than just about any other fighter I've ever had, that I've ever been associated with. Yeah, I mean, you can't teach heart. Another one, and then another one. I don't think I could have avoided taking him as my squire. He came in and he was all, "I'm Glaive man. I'm gonna be Glaive guy. I'm gonna be Glaive guy." And everybody kept, "Go talk to Iazzie." And it's like, "Oh, I want to be a Glaive guy." And they're like, "Go talk to Iazzie." "I'm a Glaive guy." And then literally he drove up from Florida to my house in Atlanta one weekend in the middle of winter, and we didn't put armor on it. We went and I showed him some Glaive stuff out in the driveway. And at one point he surprised me, and I actually wound up stabbing him in the face with my with my thrusting tip, and like, "Oh, you startled me." And I went, "That kid's got talent." And then my last squire was kind of he kind of approached me. I was kind of talking to him, and then Kane got involved because Kane. He moved into Meridier's, and he was coming to fighter practice, and we hit it off as friends. And then Kane was like, "Hey man, Randall's been talking to me, and he's looking for a knight, and he seems to real fond of you." And I was like, "All right, I'm in. I'm totally in for being his knight." So there's all kinds of stories with it.
Awesome.
I don't have any squires at this time, but what I'll be looking for is squires with passion to fight, and passion about history, and wanting to do things right. So
Now, prefer to approach them, or do you mind if they approach you?
I'm fine either way. I like to think I'm an approachable person.
Well, hopefully even more so after this show.
Hopefully so.
Gents, we're running out of time, but we've got so many good questions in here. Let me throw this one at you really quick. So this is from Lord Kikuchi.
That's my squire.
Oh, that's your baby ninja.
Yeah.
So baby ninja, he's one of our favorites. What was the hardest non-fighting thing you had to learn before you got knighted?
Hardest non-fighting thing I had to learn before getting knighted. How to find my way to event sites. Seriously. Back in the day, before MapQuest, before GPS, all of that, I could not find my way to anything. I get lost so easily, it's not even funny when I'm driving around. So the GPS has been a complete godsend for me. So for me, that was the big thing. Actually getting to site. I know, embarrassing, right? But yeah, that was it for me. Because I just get lost really easy. I can go to a place, it takes me, 5 times or more driving there before I'm going to remember the route.
Yeah. Understandable. Yeah, understandable.
For me, it was finding that sweet spot between being confident and between being arrogant. Because I had people tell me, Iazzie, you don't have that you don't have that swagger, you don't have that confidence of a fighter when you walk on the fighter field. And I was like, it's not my thing. But at the same time, it was when I found my spot in the glaive, I felt it. And you got to, express that confidence without being an asshole.
Right.
and that really, I know that sounds weird, but really, a knight needs to be confident and exude that question of how confident do you feel? Do you feel good about what you're doing? And but at the same time, not being over the top arrogant of I'm the best out here. Nobody, I'm better than everybody else. And it really is a fine line. And some people are not very good at it. And I wasn't. Still may not be. Depends on who you talk to.
I find that anytime that my confidence starts crossing over into arrogance, somebody reminds me that it should be confidence again very quickly. There's always that one person. Okay, gentlemen. So it is 8:00, and if you will just bear with us just for really quick, we got one last question from Lady Mira that I wanted to get to.
Yes, good.
I'm sorry, the Honorable Lady Mira. I should have thrown that in there. And it's a really good question. So I think we'll end the evening on this. What do you say to someone who might be thinking about giving up the path to knighthood?
The path to knighthood, as long it's your joy. Are you having fun? It's one of those where if you never get to knighthood, but you have fun and you make friends, you win. The belt is not the end of the journey. The friends you make, the fighting you have, don't quit if you just because you feel you might not make it to knighthood. And don't get frustrated. It's do the things that make you happy. And if going out and fighting makes you happy, go out and fight. But if it's miserable to fight because you feel you're never going to make that knighthood and it's just miserable for you, take some time off, find your love again, come back. My former squire, Lachlan, he lost his fun. He absolutely got to where he hated the SCA. Things happened. He came back, and now he's Sir Lachlan. he found his fun again, and the path was there. But he had to walk away. He had to find his fun again. Once he got to where it was fun again, he could come back and do it. I mean, that's just my 2 cents worth. Now, and don't get me wrong, there are people that can absolutely ruin your fun and make it miserable for you to do anything in the SCA. Don't be around those people. Turns out there were 170,000 members. I don't know, some stupid number of members. You don't have to hang out with the 5 that make you miserable. So don't give up. Find your fun, and if you need to, step away and come back.
Well said. Very well said.
I totally agree with all that. There was a time when I was just so amazingly frustrated. I felt like I was beating my head against a brick wall every time I went to an event. And I was like, what am I doing here? I felt like I was sacrificing all this time with my family and time that I should be spending doing other things. That I was like, man, why am I wasting my time on this stupid hobby? I could be doing other stuff. I could pick up a second job. I could be making money. I could go on vacation to the Grand Canyon. I could be going to Europe. I could be doing all this cool damn shit. What am I doing out here? And it's never going the way I want it to go. All I'm doing is coming out here fighting, sweating my ass off in this stinky armor, and it's never going anywhere. I don't feel like I'm getting any closer to my goal. But, and I'll tell you what I did. I gave up. I did. I gave up. I gave up being upset about getting an armor and where I was going with it. And instead, I started focusing on the joy of being in armor. And you can ask Iazzie, every time I put my helmet on, I'm wearing a grin. Every time I put that hat on, it's just like, we're about to have fun. Yes. I can't wait. I'm about to hit somebody with a stick. This is the coolest hobby ever. Oh my God. So yeah, I can't wait. I mean, it's I don't want to say give up trying to be a knight, because that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is absolutely continue being knightly, being what you want to be, chasing your joy, but not just chasing after it, because if you chase after something, it implies that you don't have it. So have it, hold on to your joy and be that joy, experience that joy. And through that, you're going to enjoy everything you're doing in the SCA. And you might not become knighted. You might not reach that peerage that you're seeking. And I hate saying that, because, after 30 years, I'd given up hope that it was going to happen. But try to put the hope out of your mind and just live the moment. People are going to tell you way more times than they should that you can't do it, that you're not going to do it, you're not worthy, you're never going to be good enough. And worst of all, the biggest person that's going to tell you that the most often is going to be you. And you got to tell that motherfucker to shut up, because he don't know what he's talking about. Okay? That's bullshit. You can do it.
Good advice. I'll try.
You are it. Be it. Okay? It's like, be the ball. Be, be the knight. Be what you're going to be,
Absolutely.
And it's not arrogance. It's not confidence. It's just being. Get in that state of being. Be what you want to be. Dress for the job you want. Be that thing.
Awesome. Oh, gentlemen, I could talk to you for another hour. However, I know it's late out where you guys are. You're not here on the West Coast where it's just 8 o'clock out here. But I want to thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. I had a blast. I hope you guys had a good time too. Before we get out of here, I want to give you guys an opportunity to plug your stuff. Is there anything, movies, TV shows, books, web shows, or anything that you think would be beneficial for someone on the path, or just anybody in the SCA to help them, keep up their little medieval joy right now? If so, tell us what it is.
Okay, so academia.edu. That's the website. You can get most any academic paper you can possibly think of. If you have a subject that you want to research that pertains to your period, your persona, whatever, look on there. It's amazing. I have gotten dozens and dozens and dozens of research papers and books off there. You can find pretty much anything. But aside from that, I get on Audible, I listen to books. And of course, you put me on the spot and I can't think of the books. But the Bernard Cornwell books, Bernard Cornwell, the Raven books by, oh man, what's his name? We're Facebook friends. It's embarrassing. I can't think of his name right now. But they're Viking Age books, the Raven Saga. There's lots of stuff out there.
Well, don't worry about it. If when it pops into your head, you can always throw it into onto the Facebook page, the Ask the Knights.
That I will do. That I will do.
We love to have that.
One book that I love, and I think it's almost mandatory reading, or should be mandatory for almost every squire, is the Book of Knighthood and Chivalry and the Anonymous Ordine des Chevaliers. That is just, it's got it all, man. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to all you tech people keeping us connected, because damn, I don't know what I'd have done without this stuff. I mean, this has been a rough year. So all you tech people out here that are keeping us connected, shout out to you guys. I honestly don't know what we would do without you guys. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to my squires. You bastards, move your fucking feet.
Especially Baby Ninja. Tired of him.
But I like it when they hold still. I want them to stand in one spot. It makes me happy.
So, of course, I have to plug our sister show, Between Two Peers. If you haven't seen it, you should, because if you like this show, that one's even better. Look, one goofy-looking host as opposed to two gorgeous hosts. Oh, except for tomorrow. They got Thorvald on there tomorrow. So one gorgeous host tomorrow. But normally, it's two gorgeous hosts. He's going to get me for that. Whenever we get back into armor, he's going to get me for that. That's okay. That's fine. It's all learning, right? It's all learning. So Between Two Peers, it's a great show. It's lots of fun. And what the hell else are you going to do on a Friday night in the pandemic? Nothing. So watch Two Peers at 7 p.m. PST. Get drunk and laugh with some goofy people. It's a lot of fun. And I also want to double mention Tradewinds of the Levant. Dale Hopton has spent years trying to get not cheap armor. It's less expensive, good looking munitions grade and better now armor that is safe, reliable, and just fantastic. I've gotten a couple of things from them now, and always fantastic. Never takes your money and fucks off. I'm not going to get into the whole thing that.
That's where my helmet came from.
Yeah, I just got a helmet from them, and it was fantastic. You know, munitions grade, and I did a little fancying up to it, and I love it. I'll post pictures on the Astonites page if you guys are interested. But yeah, uh, check out their page. They got tons of really good stuff. Takes a little time, but like I said, they don't take your money until your item is done, and they can put it in a box and ship it to you. And that's their guarantee. You know, you will always get your the stuff that you pay for. um, oh, and absolutely. So, if you're wondering how we get all this stuff done over here for Astonites Live and the Cowboys production shows, if you want to help us out, you can go and support us over at Patreon at KK Productions. You know, $1 a month, $5 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can spare. It basically helps us get new equipment and keep paying the bills. You know, we have to pay for our streaming services and everything like that. So if you can spare a little change, great. If you can't, do me a favor. Go out and flat snap the hell out of that like button. Subscribe and share to not only my channel but all the all the Cowboys Corner or the KK Productions stuff. Because like, hey, it's free entertainment, folks. Unless you decide to pay for it, and then you can just pay just a little bit, and you help us out. So keep us on air. Give us a little monetary high five, and flat snap and like the like button and subscribe. So, gentlemen, I think that's about it. I should probably shut up now. Oh, look at that. See, this is the greatest thing about having a tech guy. This is our next show. Is Graf Ulrich von Brandenburg and Sir Eric Martel, and that'll be next week. So I hope you all will tune in, get those questions ready, and have them ready for us, and we will try and get to them as best we can. Gentlemen, any parting words for our fantastic viewers?
Have fun. It's supposed to be fun.
It is. It's
I
supposed
had to steal Yazie's line.
Hey, the more people that say it, the happier I am.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So thank you so much again for being on the show. I had a blast. I hope you guys had a good time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you're welcome to come back on at any time. All right. Good night, everybody out there. We'll see you next week.